Well, I've raised a number of judicial, quasi-judicial questions already for the eminent judge, the man who should be on the Supreme Court, if not the Secretary of State for Justice. It's Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of Judging Freedom. Honourable Napolitano, thank you for joining us. I did raise a couple, maybe two, maybe three matters that I think you're better able to deal with than me in my monologue. First one, let me start seriatim, is what exactly is Barack Obama doing with 4 visits to 10 Downing Street in the last year? Is he forming a shadow government? Is he doing for Starmer what he did for Biden, a human auto pen? Or is he worried that Trump is about to launch legal action against him, maybe even seeking sanctuary in London, as in centuries past many used to do?
Wow, I did not know of this. First of all, George, good evening to you, and thank you very much for inviting me to your show. Your viewers by now know that next to the word, the phrase personal courage in Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, there's a picture of George Galloway, because you personify personal courage and intellectual honesty, and it's a treat for me to be your friend and colleague. I was unaware of Barack Obama visiting number 10 Downing Street, and I can only speculate, as you are. It would be very difficult for Trump's Justice Department, so-called Justice Department, to prosecute him for anything, in part because of an immunity decision, in my opinion, wrongfully decided, but nevertheless decided. It applies to all presidents, which renders them immune from prosecution for criminal behavior for any official acts undertaken while they were in office. Secondly, the statute of limitations on federal crimes in America is 5 years, and he, of course, has been out of office for more than 5 years. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe Jared Kushner was with him and they're planning a land deal. I'm being sarcastic. Britain, of course, does have
he has actually made a land deal, Judge. He's actually bought property in London. And other than Zelensky, he's been in number 10 more often than any other world leader. I hear, of course, what you say about the statute of limitations and any official act carried out while he was in office. But what about an unofficial act, Your Honor? What if Obama was the man who commissioned the Steele dossier, for example? What if Obama was unofficially operating through British intelligence to crank up the Russiagate affair? Would that be covered by immunity?
Well, no, it wouldn't be covered by immunity, but it would be protected by the statute of limitations. Listen, Obama, you remember this. This is how you and I came to each other's attention. Engaged the CIA to engage GCHQ. Your viewers know what that is, to spy on Mr. Donald Trump when he was running against Hillary Clinton. And when I revealed that on Fox News, British authorities put tremendous pressure on Rupert Murdoch to fire me. He refused to do so. And I continued my merry way on Fox for another 5 or 6 years. This was all instigated by Barack Obama and his director of the CIA, Jack Brennan, while I was being skewered by British and American press. 4 GCHQ agents went to The Guardian in London and said, that judge in New York who said that we were spying on Trump, he's right. And that, of course, called off the dogs. But the dogs, so to speak, were dispatched by Barack Obama. There's obviously something going on. If he's been there more times than anybody but Zelensky, then something is going on. It's hard for me to put my finger on it, sure, because he can't run for re-election, and it's nearly impossible for him to be prosecuted for anything he did Well, in the White House. Now, if he's done something that's arguably criminal in the past 5 years, I don't even know what that would be.
He said, of course, some mishaps with the domestic staff and so on, but we've no way of knowing whether there was any criminal activity in that case. But the other thing I raised, and I'd love your expertise on it, Your Honour, I've been studying quite carefully the issue of the bombing of these fishing boats. And I'm going to put to you, sir, that it's an open and shut case. Hegseth is guilty of the crime of murder.
So is Donald Trump. So is Admiral Bradley. So is everybody beneath Bradley who followed the orders. It could not be clearer. It is a federal crime in the United States of America, and if done by the military, a war crime, and if outside the United States of America, an international crime to kill an unarmed non-combatant. Period. End of story. There's no defense for it. The Nuremberg trials made it clear that I did what I was told is not a defense. Everyone in the military on day 3 in basic training is taught not to obey an illegal order. A child knows ordering a person to murder an unarmed non-combatant is itself an illegal order. I couldn't agree with you more, George. It's a closed case. Why do you think the Republicans in the House of Representatives today shut down their investigation of it? Because they know if the American public sees the tapes of these murders, the uproar against Trump will be tumultuous, perhaps even too much for him to bear. He'll probably fire Hegseth and replace him with J.D. Vance's Yale Law School roommate, who is currently the Secretary of the Army, a person of like mind but more temperate disposition. It won't change the policy of the United States, but it'll dial down the heat that is caused by Secretary Hegseth's personality. Listen, I know Pete Hegseth very well. We worked together for 8 years at Fox News. I sat next to him on the so-called curvy couch on Fox and Friends. We are former hosts of that show, but he is absolutely not qualified for this job, and his interpretation of what Trump said or his order to the admiral to kill them all was plain English, an order to commit murder.
Now, staying for a moment on matters Venezuelan, although, of course, some of the hapless victims of these murders were not even Venezuelan, some of them have quite clearly been established to have been Colombian fisher folk. But staying on Venezuelan matters, I see the Department of Homeland Security boasted, I would say, that they had exfiltrated Maria Machado, the putative puppet president of Venezuela, if Trump were to succeed in his Venezuela policy. They exfiltrated her out and have her somewhere where that they describe as safe. But my first question is, what kind of dictator is Maduro that Machado was living and operating openly in Venezuela for all of this time? But my second, more important question would be, does this make an attack on Venezuela now more or less likely in your view?
I'm sorry to say it makes it more likely in my view. Look, the attack on Venezuela without a declaration of war from the Congress would itself be a war crime, because it would be the military of one country, the United States, killing civilians in another country. Second, the United States Congress could not declare war on Venezuela under 3 treaties that it signed, not the least of which is the UN treaty, because Venezuela poses zero threat to the national security of the United States. And so the Congress has limited itself from declaring war to those countries that have attacked the United States, are about to attack the United States, or pose an imminent threat to the national security of the United States. Venezuela poses no threat to the United States. Venezuela is not an exporter of controlled dangerous substances to the United States. Other countries are, but Venezuela is not. This is all about oil for Donald Trump. It's all about control of Latin America for Marco Rubio. If they attack Venezuela and succeed in removing President Maduro, it'll be the beginning of a major, major war. I won't call it a world war because it'll be confined to this hemisphere, but it'll be the first time the United States of America is fighting wars against more than one Latin American country. If this becomes a land war, they'll be bogged down more so than they were in Vietnam. And when American boys and girls come home in body bags, the public will turn on Trump even more than it already has.
Yes, I suspect that's absolutely correct. Finally, Your Honor, the other big, if you like, legal, quasi-legal anyway, issue that arose this week was the extraordinary decision by the European Union to fine Elon Musk 125 million euros for the crime of not agreeing to censor European users in the lawful expression of their honestly held views and legally held views. This extraterritoriality is quite a stretch, isn't it? Twitter
it sure is.
Yeah, go on.
I don't know how this is going to end up. I'm sure he has assets somewhere in Europe that exceed the amount of the fine that they'll try and seize. But let's face it, George, and you are living proof of this. The freedom of speech is dead in Europe. It's dying in the United States, but it has already died in Europe. And this is just a catastrophic, monumental example of it, where the EU wants to steal $100 million from the world's richest man. Knowing him, he'll probably negotiate some sort of a settlement, which by your standards and mine and the people watching and listening to us will be a tremendous amount of money, but it'll be less than the amount of the fine. And for a guy that is about to earn $1 trillion, it'll be a drop in the bucket. That does not make it lawful. That does not make it sanguine. That actually makes it worse because he should be able to fight this in a court of law. He's not being punished for his speech. He's being punished for failing to punish the speech of others that the government hates and fears. Who gives a damn what the government hates and fears?
Exactly. It's a kind of badge of honor. As it happens, I myself am suing X in the Dublin High Court, which is where their brass plate is, and the case is at quite an advanced stage now. He hasn't sought to negotiate any kind of settlement with me, so he'll be facing me on the floor of the Dublin High Court. But the fact remains that the Europeans are more and more brazenly intimidating, threatening, and now punishing American tech companies for things that are not a crime in the United States, where they are based. Is Trump going to do anything about this? Is he going to stand up for Musk?
I wish he would. Thus far, he hasn't. His relationship with Musk is a weird one. It's a love-hate relationship and apparently changes day by day. But Trump would win the support back of a good chunk of MAGA, which he has lost. You just articulated some of the leaders of MAGA who have turned on him. If he were to do something like that, not because MAGA loves Elon Musk. Musk himself is an odd character, as you know, but because the case against Musk is just plain wrong. The government is absolutely wrong to be doing this. And Trump could probably stop it with a couple of phone calls. We'll see if he does it.